depending on the season, but we've had rain. But start checking hives about April, May to see they've got plenty of honey in them. Certainly don't rob them after March. We leave that honey there for them to feed on during the winter. And this year in particular, I've put what's called a candy board between the brood box and the super, and I put a 42 by 19 collar around. I put the candy board on top of the queen excluder, which is on top of the brood, and then I put the hive mat on top of that to keep any moisture or any humidity in, so it'll melt the sugar down, and the bees feed on that. And because it's there's a hive mat over it, the bees don't take the sugar up into the super, they take it down into the brood box and they keep breeding, so they're using it up. And then if need be, I'll put a pollen paddy in, but what I've done this year is put substitute pollen in hoppers outside for them, and that seems to be working. They seem to have taken to it. And then round about mid-June or end of June, the bees will be put on the almonds. I'll take the collars out because by then they'll be getting plenty of pollen, and there should be plenty of honey left in the supers, and we just let the bees do their thing, and around about the end of August there we start ripping frames out to stop them from swarming, because if they get too many frames of brood in there and they get too big a numbers, they'll swarm. Right now I'm I've hives down at Lyrup. They're feeding on some black box because it rained and some other weeds. If we get further rain, it'll provide further food, because one thing that grows really well and bees really like, and it's really good for them, is turnip weed, and it provides 25% pollen for the bees plus some nectar. And there will be other weeds like soursop and stuff like that that grow. Soursop is not so, and its nutrition isn't quite as good as turnip, and so that's what the bees are feeding on at the moment. Mainly black box with my bees, and we're just waiting for some turnip and soursop to start. Today I'm just going through and making sure that the candy boards on these hives were put in 3 weeks ago, so I'll probably put another candy board in, and that will do them for the season. That'll carry them through, because there is some food here, and as I said, it's rained, so we'll be hopefully getting more forage here, and so I won't have to feed them again. There's only a dozen here, but there will be 40 hives here in a month's time. Take a shot of that just to show there are no bees up the top, or very few.
And why is that? Because they all go down towards
They're all down, they're all keeping the brood warm. There's a lot of brood down there. They're keeping that brood warm, and I'll show you some honey that's here. And that's honey. Now, I'll get you a bit. This hive is slightly light on for stores because it had been robbed earlier. It's still got 4 good frames of honey in it, but you can see they haven't drawn that out, and so you can see the difference between capping and non-capping. All right. Now what I've done, they've eaten all their sugar, every bit of it, and you probably saw a drop of moisture fall off, and that's why, because this hive has probably still got a lot of brood in it. By feeding them is I'm preparing them for winter, and I'm just making sure that they've got plenty of food supply. So I put what's called a candy board in on top. I'll be putting one in a minute, but we'll just have a look at and see how much brood is in this box. You can notice by the feeding how quiet they are, and I won't take many out. I'll just check that there is some brood still in this hive, and you can see that's brood there. I'll take one other frame out and just check if there's any eggs, whether the queen's still laying. You can see there's a good number of bees. There's bees on every frame, and you can see that's a whole batch of brood in there. Can you see that, Nick? And there's brood this side. I'm pretty happy with that. And that brood is there because we fed the sugar, and they were able to keep, the queen was able to keep laying. Heaps of brood there, as you can see. And that's what you want to have at this time of the year if you're contemplating putting these bees on almonds. And they've stored sugar down here, and I haven't marked the queen, but there she is. There's the queen there. Can you see her? Have you got her?
Yep, got her.
Right. And you can see there's all honey, sugar syrup around there. Just nice big queen, so pretty happy with her. As you can see, there's a fair amount of bees in here, all round. Pretty satisfactory situation. Right, I put the hive mat on top, one for warmth, two to catch any warmth that's coming up, and so there'll be condensation, and that'll help melt that sugar. So the bees then can use it as feed. Incidentally, not everybody does what I do. They have other methods, and this is one I use.